Hello, Patrick.
Hi, Graham. What's today again?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Something like the 28th, or is this the end of February?
All
It's
right.
the last week in February.
All right. Let's start with the day.
So I don't know.
Did you ever? I was going to say, like school. At school. What's the first thing you put on your page?
Oh, the date,
Yeah. Go on, else. What else?
my name.
Yeah. That's the exam paper, isn't it? Actually, there was an exam that I didn't. I didn't actually do the first page of the exam, and I failed. Right, and I was one of the most advanced person in the class. So I protested about it. So he had me come back, and he goes, "Well, you missed out the first page." He goes, "Go and sit down there and do the. I'll thingy for the first page." Did the first page, I passed. But mind you, I dropped out the course. Well, I got the certificate because good. I was meant to get. Dropped out the course, dropped out the job, dropped out the voluntary stuff that I was doing. I was only about 18 at the time. Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
today is Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
It's actually 27th
27th, yeah.
of February.
Yeah, I said 28th, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow is the last day. We've been robbed short in February.
Oh, yeah, for February, yeah, of course,
Right.
yeah.
So tomorrow is the last day of February.
It's not leap year.
No.
No, that would give it 29.
Do you know the story about the leap year?
No,
Do you know why we have a leap year?
I've no idea.
Oh well, next time we'll have to find out and tell the people.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
So yeah, so it's the 27th of February.
Yeah.
Oh, what year?
2025.
Yeah, the way you say that, 2020. 2025, yeah.
Yeah, 29.
And approximately what time is it?
It might be 2:15 or...
Yeah. All right, we'll settle for that. Right. What's our location again?
Finsbury Park.
Yeah. What part of the world?
In the Western Hemisphere,
Yeah, London, England.
London, England,
For those-
Europe.
For those who are watching, over, there's many Londons. I think there's a London in Toronto.
Oh, yes, lots of Londons, yeah.
Yeah. So
And probably London on Australia, maybe in South Africa.
yeah. I know there's an
lots
East
of
End in South Africa.
Yeah, lots.
All right. Yeah. So that's the location. What's the temperature today?
Oh, it's mild with a slight chill, but without the wind chill, it's actually quite almost warm.
All right. The average temperature today.
10 or 12, 10, something double figures.
The average temperature today is around 10 degrees, but in the sunlight,
Yeah.
if you add the sun to it, it's about 12, even 14, 15.
Yeah.
So you're heating up.
Heating up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know why they put foil on those satellites?
To stop them burning, I think. Yeah,
To reflect.
to reflect, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about reflection. I want to say that I've developed a new form of therapy that isn't new, but based on ancient wisdom.
Okay, tell us about it.
Well, you know, at the moment with what the Andrew Tate release, and and then you've got Andrew Tate, and you add it on to Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and all the other MAGA maniacs and lunatics and non-MAGA lunatics who are sort of mini MAGAs, I should call them nowadays, around the world. And I was finding it hard to sleep. I thought, oh God, the anxiety, depression, everything. So I thought, let's focus on something that's comforting and morally uplifting, and that is, you know, and that is spiritually uplifting more than thinking about, you know, the MAGA maniacs that are running the world and all their evil monstrosities.
Is there anything uplifting and comforting?
Yeah. Oh yes, certainly. I'll tell you what it is.
What is it?
I close my eyes and I think about this beautiful sight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about this beautiful sight.
Dog turd. It looks nice. It smells nice. Got a nice colour, and it's very uplifting. And it's certainly got sort of a more, and it has a moral relevance in today's world. I know, compared with all the other monstrosities, four-legged monstrosities around. Two-legged monstrosities.
Is a description of how you're feeling, would it be cynical? Would it be, anyway, yeah, cynical is what I would say. That comes to mind.
Yes. So, but remember the first cynic was Diogenes. And when he was asked by a great Greek philosopher why he lives came to visit him and asked him, why does he live in a barrel? When other people, he's from a well-off family, he can live, he can have a bed, he can do all sorts of things really. But he chose, right, to live in a barrel.
Yeah.
And so he said to the philosopher, excuse me, can you get out the way, because I want to see the sun. So that was Diogenes, and that was his cynicism, and that's so the first cynic.
So Keir Starmer is in America.
Yeah, he's going to warm his lips on Trump's bottom. I think that Zelensky is going to cheat, because I think that Macron has warmed his lips up and it's got a nice flavour of Trump bottom, it's not like Trump Gaza, it's Trump bottom, which is similar, and Starmer's going to get a nice a bit of Trump bottom with a nice flavour, nice sort of like a McDonald's flavour to it. But I think Zelensky, right, might do a sneaky one and stick a little bit of sort of like wood or gorse in between, so that he doesn't have to actually get the flavour. Because I think that's I don't blame him.
I remember a radio presenter, 16 and 5. That would be about 11 years ago. 4 and 5, no, 4 and 5, it's 9. 4 and 4, 8, yeah, 9 years ago. And he used to use this phrase, the emperor has got no clothes. And that was in relation to Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And we were happy and we were laughing. And the first thing Boris Johnson did was a thing called prorogue.
Prorogue, the parliament, yeah.
Which was to shut down parliament.
Yeah.
Right? Because he knew the democratic process. He was not following the democratic process. So all the MPs in the House of Commons, he tried to shut them down. But there was this woman called Gina Miller.
Gina, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, right, I remember.
Do you know what she called out for?
No.
She called out for procedure. And process.
Yeah.
Right? And they managed to unprorogue Parliament. Right? Now, what Donald Trump has done, he's all of a sudden hired Elon Musk with no procedure or protest,
yes,
to get him into the job. But what Elon Musk is doing with no procedure and process is shutting down different aspects of the USA government.
Yeah.
So a certain section of those people from certain section of the industries that got shut down from government has taken him to court. Have you heard about that? And what has the judge's ruling said?
I don't know. I've been looking, trying
The judge's ruling said stop,
Stop. Yeah, stop.
right? You're going to have a procedure and an investigation. So that's those who's got the strength.
And also, Musk has been actually doing something which is really unusual because of all his so-called free speech crap, which he goes on about, to help him, like Goebbels, to help him get into the power by having something nice sounding. But he's actually a real sort of Trumpish dictator, and wants really to shut down freedom of speech. And the first thing he's done is to actually ask federal employees to actually write about what they've been doing. It sounds strange, but it's actually to softening them up for actually the state Trump must control. No, so that the MAGA will be the new state that will control what they're doing and where they're going and that. And saying that if they don't do it, they'll be fired. But they've been told legally that they don't have to do it. So when the CNN reporters asked Donald Trump, and being a genius, he said something in his that only a genius can, a true genius can do. he said, well, yeah, I agree with Elon Musk, but I see what's happening, and so they're being they're being semi-fired.
Yeah, it's like the police over here.
Semi-fired.
Who would I don't know, arrest you and take your details, and they would put it down as a non-crime.
As a non-crime.
Crime.
Yeah. Non-crime, yeah.
So they're semi-fired.
Yeah.
It's like being half pregnant.
Being half pregnant.
Not fully pregnant.
Yeah, but the fact is that only Donald Trump can say it in his inimitable way, right? That defies the laws of grammar and intelligibility of conversation. He says it in that normal schizophrenic type of way that criminally insane tend to do when they're asked questions that they can't understand and don't like.
And here's the point about the emperor that has got no clothes. And so this presenter, that was part of his main mantra.
That was part of the deluge. I mean, there's so much more deluge going on. That was part of the deluge 2 days ago. The waterfall carries on.
I'm giving you the antidote.
Yeah.
To Trump.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. So the emperor's got no clothes. So no one's got the balls or the guts to actually say to Donald Trump, "You're effing mad."
You're mad.
Not even wrong.
Not wrong.
Just mad.
No. Mad.
Right. You're being sarcastic in saying by describing Donald Trump.
Except for his niece.
All right. What about his niece?
His niece has even written books about him.
Oh yes.
And he doesn't know what to do about his niece.
Yes.
Because it won't go down very well if he does something bad to her. So he just ignores that. But she is the person who says about the emperor's new clothes.
Exactly. Right. And
Zelensky nearly did it. He came close, but he relented. He came close by saying being trapped in misinformation, which was a very sophisticated way of saying that he's mad. But but now he's gone back on even that as well.
And the French
maybe that's because he couldn't stand the abuse anymore.
Well, the French president stopped him in relation to
in relation to his lies about Ukraine and
the finance
and the finance and the fact that they were not the invaders. They didn't invade Russia. They were invaded, and yes, and the finance that the EU hadn't given them money. They'd given them loans which they had to repay back in the sort of Trump-like transactional way.
Right now, he's ruling by presidential
Decree. He's ruling by decree, yes.
Right now, funny enough, I thought about this years ago, right? Because over here we have the same thing. We call it a different name.
It's done. It was done during wartime.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
which is what somebody said on the BBC World Service and Times Radio in Trump's defence, that it in a very sneaky way they said, well, yes, what he's doing was done during the wartime.
Right. We have it over here as well. Decree. We call it Parliament Queen's Decree. I can't remember the word. But if you continue ruling by decree, then you're gonna get impeached. Because what's happening after a while is, you see there's slow signs. Our man in Ukraine said he lived in his own information
disinformation bubble.
Right.
Pretty clever.
What everybody's doing in relation to when Donald Trump makes a presidential decree is they just stand there and look at him, and it's not until it gets enacted then they start to panic. Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think they're in a state of denial, because I actually think they don't know what to do. You see, in a way, they're hoisted on their own petard. You see, in a way, they can't act. They use a certain amount of diplomacy, and that, or another word for that is hypocrisy. But they use a certain. But his directness, right, and his rudeness, impoliteness, and his insanity and his mercurialness is shocking for them, because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that China, he says he's tariff to everybody. Tariff over there, tariff over here, tariff.
But not tariffs for economic reasons, because tariffs are part of the economic theory, where you have a tariff because of unfair trading or something. He's using tariffs for completely spurious reasons, about immigration, or about, somebody said something he didn't like, or about ignoring him, or he's using tariffs like a sort of a small child,
who's just found matches.
Who just found matches. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But I'm amazed at the Chinese. You see, what worries me about that kind of way of continuing and prosecuting and working is that quite easily mistakes can be made, right? Yeah. If you front up to a guy and go, yeah, mate, if by Saturday you don't release all of the prisoners, it's going to get messy.
Well, do you
remember that threat?
That's gangsterism. You see, it really is. Let's not be too clever about this. Gangsterism is not diplomatic. Gangsterism is not protocol. Gangsterism is effective in gangster terms, but in a short term. See, gangsterism just means bullying and strength, and it can backfire, but only for the gangster that loses the fight.
But you see, that's my point, right? That kind of strategy, right? Mistakes can be easily made, and people can misread it, right? Because if you got another Trump is playing this madman sort of psychology, and
it's hard to know. Is he? It's very strange Gestalt picture. Is he playing it? Does he mean it? It's very, very odd.
Do you remember this old term?
Well, but then again, mental illness is a very strange thing, because we all know people who are mentally ill, but they're not ill all the time. Sometimes they know what they're doing, but they don't know why they're doing it. They know what they're doing, but they don't know why they're doing it.
Do you remember this old time strategic term called saber rattling?
Saber rattling, yes, yes.
right? Now it can quite easily get out of hand,
Saber rattling, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to swing that saber because you said you're ready to go. Or yeah, mate. What are you looking at?
We're talking with Trump like gangsterism, Neanderthal. We're not talking about any social graces, you know. Yeah.
But the whole world, well, no, not the whole world, because his fan base.
His fan base worship him,
Right.
in a quasi-religious way.
Right. Now,
Sometimes in a religious way.
right. So the whole world, intelligent world, is looking at him like a petulant child. Right. So that's the intelligent world. Even the people
Yeah.
who are kissing his backside.
They're being hypocritical in doing so.
Well,
They're not doing it because they worship him like his Marga base. They're not in his Marga base. His Marga base isn't actually that large, but they're very, very loyal.
and he's just added a soldier to his Marga base today.
Andrew Tate, yes.
Yeah.
And his brother, yes, he's the Tate Gallery.
But there is
misogynist. Yep.
But there is a strategy there, because if you got somebody representing you from all of the fractions.
Well, I think that the strategy in terms of following the National Socialist playbook of Hitler was to actually have pretend to be the sort of working class sun-reading macho man who's greatly aggrieved, who thinks that the establishment are against them, and they will be aggrieved about the establishment, and they'll use real issues such as inequalities and inflation and unemployment and the social injustices, right? But what they'll do is they won't join the trade union, or they won't do it in a socialist sort of way. Like they'll do it in a very cowboy grievance, where they will want to turn round and attack somebody more powerless.
Yes.
Like migrants and women and homosexuals and trans people and people that have less power than they have, and they will actually give more power to the people who are very powerful, the oligarchies, and who Trump and Musk represent the oligarchies. Andrew Tate doesn't represent an oligarchy, but he thinks by going on their coattails they'll give him some dog biscuits and make him king for a day. Like on maybe he'll go on the Joe Rogan show, or he'll,
If we go over to Germany, that day election,
or the Russell Brand show, or all these opportunists. He's another of these opportunists.
If we go over to Germany, have you followed any of the election?
Yes, the AfD did very horrible. That's a very and the right wing did the right wing. It was a social democrat, and the left wing did quite badly. But then again, maybe a lot of young people are looking at the Twitter, and picking up all the grievances.
So what?
And feeling their grievances, especially in the eastern part of Germany.
Look.
Feeling aggrieved, and also they might be thinking that in the old days, that when we had an empire, our life was a lot better.
The Germany had an empire.
Yes, they had an empire in the First War, Second War. They had one, but even before that, under Bismarck. Many of the European countries had empires, and Americans had an empire. Much of the white world had different empires, didn't they?
Look, I remember
Japan had an empire.
I remember saying to you, right, when Starmer won, and I said, and the rise of what's it called? UKIP, not UKIP. What is it?
UKIP Reform Party.
Reform.
Yeah, they had a lot of different names, haven't they?
Right, and Reform now has 5 MPs. right? So what I was saying to you was, it's almost like 40% of the people, right? How are they feeling? They like voted for reform, right? And I was saying to you, what is going on with them? And later on in August, we had what?
Yeah.
We had a riot.
Yes.
Because of the perception
of the aggrievement. Yes.
Right.
That there'd been some terrible injustice, and it was mixed with a bit of moral indignation. I mean, and it was based on a horrible crime.
Yeah.
But which was manipulated.
Yeah. So back to Germany now. So we saw a riot.
Well, you see, there has been these Islamists, mentally ill Islamists, have been doing terrible things in Germany.
Mind you, I've got to say that they have been like almost every.
But you see, the thing is, the Islamists do like the fascists, because the Islamists would like to have a war. They'd like to have an Islamic empire, and they're quite happy if they don't like liberalism and they don't like socialism. They'd prefer fascism, and if they get a racist reaction, they're very, very happy. I shouldn't think that the Islamists would be very happy at refugees, particularly from Arab and Muslim countries who've gone to Europe, because they know they tend to be the socialist and secular ones, right, who've left.
Right.
So really, they wouldn't represent the other refugees. In fact, they probably hate them.
All right, let's take it to a higher level. IS stands for?
The Islamic State.
Right. Is there an Islamic State?
This is a strange question. Well, there are two theories, and I don't know which is correct. There is an Islamic State in terms of there are people that supported this grouping that call themselves.
Why do you
Islamic
think they
State.
want that?
Let me carry on.
Okay.
Right now, because if you don't, you won't know what I'm going to say. So it's actually real. I'm not a fantasist. It's real. And they believe in this mad Islamic ideology, right? Extreme Islamic ideology, which is fascist, right? But because of their deep grievances, maybe due to the injustices of the West in the Middle East, or for all sorts of different reasons. But rather than turning to socialism or Arab nationalism, they turn to Islamism. Now, they fed off the fact that the West are racists, right? Because they don't think there's any socialists or people like myself who've gone on who are pro-Palestine, and they want to see a simple world. Now, the thing is, right? Those people actually exist, but the fact is, right? How they've managed to be so powerful, this is very strange, and this is where this could be called a conspiracy theory, but this is very interesting. The Islamic State seemed to be actually being given a lot of money by Saudi millionaires and people like that, who and also by some sort of by the Turkish government and things like that. Who didn't leave NATO. This is very interesting. So in a way, they've been, a lot of them have been manipulated in the same way that Hamas was a small little grouping manipulated by Netanyahu, and that the Taliban were a small grouping manipulated by the United States, right, to fight the Soviet Union. And so this is where it comes complicated. Now, I don't have evidence that this is true, but then again, how would I if something is secret and is done secretly, like Oliver North? Until we found out that Oliver North had actually for Nicaragua. He actually smuggled I think drugs into South America and weapons into Iran. And it was so strange that until we actually found out, right, and it unraveled, it would be hard to believe. So this was a conspiracy theory which turned out to be true.
Donald Rumsfeld's famous saying, the knowns,
and the unknowns. Yes.
We thought that was a rubbish statement at the time, but it makes sense as time goes on. All right.
Well, you see, if I kept stealing all your mobile phones, you didn't know that I did it, it would be a known unknowns. But if you actually saw me, you know, put my hand in your pocket and take it out, right, and I didn't have any excuse at all, right, then it would be a known.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, Islamic State, is there such a thing as a Jewish state?
Well, Israel, they call themselves, they are the Jewish state, yeah. But the West is the Western government during the Cold War wanted to use Israel as their aircraft carrier, right, to fight both the Soviet Union and keep the in the oil fields going. So they actually never used the word a Jewish state or the Jewish ethnic state. So they made out that an ethnic Islamic state is a bad thing, but an ethnic Christian state or an ethnic Jewish state wasn't. But as an atheist and a secularist, right? Should I say, which is more to the point, a secularist, I don't think that any ethnic states based on religion or skin color or anything else spurious are good ideas.
Does the state they say the state of Israel, does that exist? Anyway, my point being with IS and a Jewish state, I think the making of IS was because of the making of the formulation of Israel, you know. And then if we look closer into the area, that area itself, who is the 12 tribes of Judea?
Oh, now we're going somewhere theological. I really don't know.
Right.
So tell me a little bit of Quranic theology.
I've been looking at that recently, right? But actually, I knew that from a long time ago because my friends who were the Rastafarians, they would always be on about from the 80s, right? The 12 tribes of Judea.
Okay.
Or 12 tribes of Jah. Rastafari.
That's Judea, yeah. Okay.
Rastafari. You could see how words can think.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's many. There's 12 tribes. I've looked at the area, and each tribe had their different little patch.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about the 12 tribes anymore. I mean, I've been looking at the area itself was called Judea. The river. What do you call it? What's the
Jordan?
Yeah, River Jordan.
Yeah, that's the main river.
Somebody sung a song about River Jordan, innit?
Boney?
No. Like Paul Robeson. I look at it. What do I see?
No. Because many of the slaves sang that as a metaphor. Because African American slaves would be talking about the Underground Railroad. You know, like I forgot her name. What's her name? There's a woman very famous.
Yeah.
And the Underground Railroad, which was basically not a. It was only underground so much as it was a secret way of safe houses where slaves could escape to the north. And when they were talking about crossing the River Jordan. There was a metaphor for crossing to the north, where they would be free.
I'll give you another metaphor.
Most of the time,
which happened recently, and it happened in Jamaican dancehall, and it was something about the Gully Bank and Gaza. right? And so someone would say, are you on the Gully Bank side or are you on the Gaza side? And there was this kind of split, almost like in America. You got East Coast and West Coast rappers, right? Like Tupac and Biggie Small, and you know, shootouts and what have you. So Jamaica had this Gully Bank and Gaza, and they're almost like two teams. But that was like about 10 years ago. So that's kind of, but that was also a metaphor for almost violence in the music, right? And talking about violence, what about the the documentary in Gaza? Have you heard?
Oh, that horrible thing. Yes, I saw it on YouTube. Because yes, the wow, weird and sick. Trump Gaza. I don't know where to start. It's unbelievable. It's I mean, I think Goebbels could have produced that. Actually, I think it was done much better because of modern technology. I think Goebbels would feel jealous. He would love to have been able to do that. He just he didn't manage. He didn't have the technology to do that.
What did you derive from it? What was there a message there? Did you see anything different that you didn't see before?
I'm confused. I'm confused. There's different element. I mean, it's obviously there's the bullying element. There's the fascistic sort of element of saying, you know, power. There's the element of Donald Trump passing a message on to Netanyahu and the other far right people that you know, this is what we can do. There's an element of legitimizing things through that. There's but there's also an element of insanity, because when we saw Donald Trump looking like Kim Jong-un, and we had Donald Musk throwing money into the air and enjoying that, it seems to be just like insane. I mean, it was very odd. It's very, very odd. I don't know. So really, it's above me to understand that. It's beyond me. I don't know. All I know, it was sickening and awful. It was sickening. It was disgusting, and it was mad. More than that, I can't really say. It was.
Now, what made you sick? What was the visual things that made you sick?
Well, there was no mention of the Palestinians. That was basically settler colonialism. Basically, they were. It was like maybe what Albert Speer wanted to do in Berlin. He wanted to recreate. Hitler got him as the architect to recreate Germany without the Jewish people, and also his plan. Hitler first also wanted to use Albert Speer to recreate Paris after he destroyed it, but he was invited by, I think, Pétain and some of the Vichy people, the collaborators, right? Took him to the theatre, and he quite liked it, and he changed his mind, so he didn't destroy Paris. So Albert Speer never got to recreate it. But a lot of empires throughout history have done that. They've actually destroyed something and made it their own.
All right. The breaking news.
Maybe this thing might, up until 1945, something like this might have just been the norm, and maybe it's because of the post-1945 consensus where things like this have been taboo, right? Even for some of the most horrible dictators, that I'm so surprised and don't understand it. Maybe if I was from the 1930s or 20s or 1910, I would have understood it immediately what it meant.
So what do you make of the so-called BBC now pulling it from, and the apology because Hamas kids?
Yeah, well, yes, it's a total hypocrisy. It's amazing. The terrible. I mean, even Gary Lineker was complained about it being pulled, you know. But you only heard that once and quickly on Times Radio, and then never heard it again. It's amazing that really. It doesn't matter if it's the child of a Hamas official. So what? you know, look, if Donald Trump's son wanted to make a film about like a forest fire in California, even he should be allowed to make it, and then if it's propagandistic, maybe someone should make a counter film against it to say this isn't right. But you see, basically the total unfairness is just amazing. How come Trump's film is okay, right, which is really much more terrible, and this film, which was about the devastation, right, I mean, the thing is, it doesn't matter who it's made by, it's about the devastation.
Yeah, the basic message is it is wrong what's happening to the people in Gaza. There are people trying to take their land, that's why they're fighting back.
Yeah, settler colonialism, they want to steal their land, like they did with the Native Americans.
Right, and if, and
I mean, a forerunner of Donald Trump in American history was a populist president called Andrew Jackson, who started off talking about the grievances of American workers and what have you. But he ended up actually just being sort of just a brutal sort of authoritarian who actually massacred lots of Native Americans, and actually was responsible for the long march of Native Americans from the southeast, with the March of Tears or something, over to Oklahoma, and yeah. So what a monster, Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, but the point being,
but and actually the similarity with him and Trump was that a judge, one of the U.S. judges at the time, says this is unconstitutional. You can't just take the Native Americans' land, because actually they're on land which is they made a treaty about earlier on. So you can't just break that treaty. And he was famous at saying that, a treaty or no treaty, let's see who's going to stop us when we go out and do it. And then he went and did it. And people who supported him did it.
I think Ukraine had a treaty before they got rid of all of their treaty that the West was going to defend them. That's why they got rid of all of their nuclear weapons.
You know, but the hypocrisy of the West has been, they're right to support Ukraine, but they're very hypocritical and very racist in their condemnation of Palestinians who are in the same situation, right? But now it's backflipped on them, because Donald Trump has gone even further than them and shows that really he's actually taken the mask off their hypocritical faces and said, look, I don't care about anybody at all.
See, and some people,
I don't think he would even care, even if it was his own supporters who were attacked. I don't think he would care one single bit, and he actually says it openly. He's a mercenary.
Yeah, and you see, before Trump, we got involved here in the UK. It was called the Iraq War, right? And Bush Senior and Bush Junior, and from that, and there is
and his poodle Blair, and
yeah, and the 45 minutes warning, and
45 the 45 minutes
and
warning,
the weapons of mass destruction,
yes,
right,
that he made up, yeah,
right. Now they've destroyed the country, and now we've got immigrants from those destroyed places,
countries, yes.
Also Afghanistan,
yes,
right, also Syria, right, and also, right, so there's been secret wars. I never knew Britain was involved in Syria. And
there's one very secret war which I saw a video about a long time ago and read a book about, which is like a hidden war in the 1960s in a place called Oman. we knew about what is called Yemen, which was then called Aden. But there was even a war in Oman helping this Sultan Qaboos when the SAS were down there, and the British Army were there helping this medieval feudal dictator.
Yemen and Oman, aren't they still fighting? Is there still...
No, Oman's not very quiet now because what they did eventually, right, is the father was so brutal, right, and so cruel that they replaced him with the son who'd been
Westernized,
Western educated.
Yes.
They replaced him, and he made some reforms, and so it's all quietened down. It was a communist uprising, you know, and but they were brutally put down by the British Air Force and the British Army. And in fact, there was someone, Mad Mitchell. There was some British mercenaries there as well.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, but it was all that was one of the most covered up wars in the world.
And then
British Empire.
Trump basically says that Ukraine Zelensky hasn't got cards in the game. Now he's got to give up minerals. Now he's got to give up bits and pieces.
Yeah, well, basically that's what's called, a mercenary. That's what the basically he's just talking like a mercenary. He's just saying, look, he's just saying you're weak, so you're a loser, and therefore, right, the bullies knocked you down, so the bully can have what he's taken from you, and I'll take the rest, because you can't, nothing you can do about it. So that's what he's saying.
Funny enough,
he's just saying, I'll take it.
On Saturday,
he's a gangster.
On Saturday, it's gonna be the 1st of March, and it's gonna be St. George's Day.
Oh.
And normally we have those flag waving.
Yes. Oh no.
Right. Now,
Farage.
I remember
Robinson.
I remember just a while back, before he gave himself on it, when they had one of their big protests, that they had a certain amount of people went down to Number 10 to deliver a petition, and that petition was they don't want any refugees from Gaza, right? So what I was going to say was that we got people who are, yes, the great military, yes,
there's probably only 2 or 3. It's almost impossible to leave Gaza.
Yeah.
It's absolute fantasy land.
All right. So what I'm saying is that there's people.
It's like saying you don't want refugees from Greenland.
I know. Yeah. So there are people who want America to be great. They want Britain to be great. They want to go out there and destroy.
Well, now they've converged. So the people that want Britain to be great want America to be great. There's been a steady convergence. Right.
Yeah. But those people, those warmongers, Britain's great and I'm going to go to war. They don't realize when you go and destroy places like Gaddafi's place, what was it again?
Libya. Yeah.
And you destroy Iraq, right? Yes. That those people are going to be displaced.
And also climate change displacing people. I mean, they're against mitigating the climate change, but actually, if people have no agriculture and no sustenance, they'll move, and that's will happen anywhere around the world where people will move.
But you know what?
If there was a flood in Cornwall, people from Cornwall would move to Kent or Yorkshire, right?
But you know what? We still don't know what happened with Iraq.
I mean, the Irish famine, white Irish people, right? Well, right, went over, right, to America. I mean, people move when their life is made intolerable for a variety of reasons.
Right, but you know what? We
both obvious, like war, direct obvious, like wars caused by the West, or indirect ones caused by climate.
Right. So we still don't know what happened with the Iraq War.
Or poverty caused by capitalism.
Right. It's thing that it's about 500,000 people. We still don't know that got killed. Iraqis got killed. We still don't know how much it cost. Right. And that's why the Labour Party was out of power for 15 years.
Yeah.
Right. The first 10 years, the Conservatives said, "Oh, the reason why we're in such a mess was because of the Labour Party." But then after 10 years, people turned around to them and said, "Listen, you've been in for 10 years. You should have solved the problem."
No, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what were they doing for the last 5 years? Oh, the last 5 years, it was about Brexit.
Brexit. Oh yes.
Right. The reason why we have those problems is because of Brexit.
Yes.
So it's changed from.
And remember, according to the right wing, you know, the people like Farage and Badenoch and all, the Brexit still hasn't done. Because if it was done properly, you know, and that might be sometime in the future, that might be another 20 years. When it's done, it'll be utopic. Once it's done.
Yeah, oven ready to go in the oven. Yeah,
oven ready,
Pink.
done. Yes. Sir.
All right, so.
Yes. And people will have their cake and eat it.
All right, so we talk about the cost of war. The negotiations about cost, NATO cost. Trump, in his perverse way, have mentioned for those who listens, right, has mentioned the $36 trillion debt that America is in.
Yes, that's strange.
Not strange.
He's actually let the cat out of the bag. He's mentioned it.
No.
Most of the debt is owned by China.
Look, from the day one when I started this podcast, which was like last year, right? Britain's debt is 2.7 trillion pounds, right? And it's rising.
Well, you see, if you don't tax the rich, the super rich, right, you'll either have to have austerity or you're going to have to borrow.
Whatever the formula is going to be, I said it from then. I said the government, first I said it here, the government here cannot pay the bills. I've said it. And the government still can't pay the bills. And what did Care said?
And by cutting the minuscule overseas aid budget, like, and performative cruelty, and this kind of, not performative, actual cruelty, will not be able to pay the aid budget because, you know, but taxing the tech millionaires, right, the tech companies, right, might actually help towards it. Even if it doesn't do it, it will help towards it. But certainly, you know, cutting benefits or social welfare or Meals on Wheels or some sort of AIDS prevention, like in Burundi, it's not going to actually solve that.
Do you know what I just thought? You know the COVID epidemic. You know, was a blessing for Boris Johnson.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, because he nearly. It was like his Trump's earhole moment.
Right, because
fight.
Because the focus.
He became the hero.
Yeah, because the focus was off him.
And
he was in a crisis.
He was in a crisis.
But it was also that crisis eventually that we saw the emperor had no clothes, right? And I remember when it started to crash and tumble, right? One of the people, Whitehall, Mandarins, what do you call them? The people that work behind the scene, phoned up a radio program.
They're basically
civil servant.
Civil servant.
And next to crying and says, listen, this guy is a fraud. This guy is no good. Because remember at that time, he had a couple of friends he was pulling out of trouble. One of them he was going to go and redo the rules in order to have him being let off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like that Baroness Moan and maybe some other people, both in the House of Lords and not in the House of Lords, right, were actually made huge fortunes, right, by a sleight of hand through PPE, and that's a huge theft, and it's never been recovered, and that would help towards the debt. Right. That would help towards the debt.
But basically, actually, I've looked at the projections
and build lots of hospitals.
I've looked at the projection figures.
She's not going to give the money back, is she?
Well, they got
All her knighthood.
Oh, and what's the press all about now? Hunting down the people who've been overpaid in Social Security.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. Yes.
Right.
Cheats, frauds.
Right.
Yes.
And they don't. But I've been looking at the projection figures.
And the neats. They're not in employment, education.
Oh, they don't want people having a good time.
I wonder if Margot are neat, because they might be in. They're not in education, so they're in all the other things. But you know, so so none of them are in education. So
Right. So they don't want anybody having fun, right? They want you to be out there working, or get yourself in debt, spend money and get yourself in debt if you're poor, right? But I've been looking
but
at.
debt is the basis of the capitalist economy. It runs on debt.
I've been looking at the figures for the ONS, the same thing that everybody looks at, for the projected borrowing of the UK. And you know, the government says the debt is going to go down. It's actually predicted, the ONS predicted it's actually going to go up, right? It's going to start rising. And it's reaching a stage where the interest rate is going to be horrendous, right? Okay, another time I'll tell you the precise mechanism and how it works. But basically, when they give an increase in money, right, they ask you to do a reduction.
Now, isn't it?
Yeah. You see, I didn't finish my.
Sorry.
Yeah, at the beginning, I didn't finish my weather report in relation to temperature and the wind and what have you, because I knew this was.
What you were saying, because I want to hear. I want to hear what you're saying. I'm
You
sorry.
should have let me finish, first.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. No,
All
I
right.
wanted to know, because I want to understand. It confuses me. I don't know
All right,
enough about this subject.
So we're literally kind of broke, right? Because the economy is actually flatlining.
Because of Brexit, because of actually leaving a huge market, right, which didn't have customs controls,
Right.
and also had a lot of labour, cheap labour, that filled many of the roles that the elderly population were unable to do. I mean, 80-year-olds can't really pick fruit and work in back-breaking care work. So, or back-breaking Starbucks. They actually instead of needing less migrants, they need more. And countries like Japan, with their elderly population, actually just show how important migration would be. But you know, logic doesn't come into it, because ideology doesn't follow logic. You see, ideology is just making people sort of angry and scared and shouting all the time and finding scapegoats.
It's funny, our focus at the moment is not on the economics, right? The economics actually does not work, right?
But it's never been, you know, it's always been foreigners and people on benefit. It's always been some moral panics. There's always been groups of, it's always been anti-woke and me-I, hasn't it? It's always been on people's personal foibles and like transgender issues, and it's always been on superficial things.
I'll tell you where the focus is at this very moment, right? But let me prelude it and get
masculinity going to hell or something silly.
No, the economic situation, right? It just does not work, right? They stood up in either yesterday or the other day and said we are going to increase the spending for the military by, I don't know, a couple of percent or whatever. It's going to be increased.
I think it's 5%, a hell of a lot.
Right, we haven't got the money, right?
No.
So that's an increase in spending, right? So with this increase in spending, where is the money actually coming from? We're actually flatlining. The economy is actually flatlining at the moment. But so we're not So all of a sudden,
actually, no. Listen to the paradox of this. If Donald Trump magically gets the Ukraine war to come to an end, we were told that Ukraine war, this is what we were told, helped cause the inflation by pushing prices up and helped cause a lot of the economic problems, and so therefore there should be a peace dividend.
How
like
quickly
it was at the end of the Cold War. So there should be a peace dividend.
how quickly?
Right?
How quickly we gonna get that?
I don't know. But what I'm saying is contradicts the military spending, because actually there should be less military spending, like there was at the end of the Cold War. If there is a peace deal, there should be less military spending. So nothing makes sense.
Right.
It's like me saying to you, right? If you do like this, I'm just making this up, but because I'm off the top of my head, it might be nonsense. But I can say to you, look, if you do my garden, right, I'm going to give you some money, right? But then I say to you, well, I've done the garden now. I say, well, you've done the garden, but I'm just going to still give you some money. Now imagine that it's turned upside down. Now I say, if you do my garden really well, right, I'm going to take money away from you. And then you say, well, I'm not going to do your garden. Well, I say, well, I'm going to take even more money away from you because you didn't do it. And you said, well, what should I do? I said, I don't know. Well, can I do anything to make you not take money away from me? No. You see, that this doesn't make sense. There's meant to be a peace dividend. Right. That's what, at the end of the Cold War, we heard about a peace dividend. Military spending was cut. And the reason why we're told that Germany, right, is supposed to be a very monstrous country, not paying its fair share to NATO, but actually, after the Second World War, the Germany was demilitarized by the United States, right? And in East Germany, it was the Soviet Union. They demilitarized, right? The two halves were deliberately demilitarized. And so was Japan, demilitarized.
And how long did it take Britain to pay off the debt, that the money it borrowed from America to fight the war and to reconstruct Britain? How long did it take?
Oh, a long time, but not as long as the amount of time it took to pay off the debts to the slave owners.
So we
that built the Caribbean.
So the point is, we're constantly in debt, right? And they've made a major announcement.
Well, of course there's debt, because they're rich parasites, right, that need to be given free food. It's like in those those comic horror films where you have a great blob and it needs to be fed all the time, and it gets bigger and you have to feed it more. So the multi-millionaires, right, have to be constantly fed money. I mean, Elon Musk, right, who's cutting all these government spending on that, has been given a huge amount of money, right? Especially when he started, and he was a Democrat at that time, and he was given money by especially Democrats. He was given a lot of government grants. He was given lots of money, right? And he's bloated. Now he doesn't going to call Tesla inefficient, and he's not going to call X inefficient. He's not going to call that needs to be cut. He's going to actually take money away from people who've actually got no money at all. You know, people on welfare and people who need Medicare, and you know, people that both inside and outside America who need AIDS treatment, who need I don't know, like family planning and things like that. He's not going to, you know. I think he's got a family of about like 12 children or something.
Right now,
he doesn't. When he talks about poor people having too many children, he's not meaning himself, because he thinks rich people should be as spendthrift as they wish to be and give more money.
Right now,
and give them money.
Now the reason why, all right, it's complex.
Of course, it brings all countries into debt when you give the rich money, because they already have money, and then you give them more money.
All right. the reason why there's all these cutbacks, and the reason why over here in the UK, why the NHS is in problems, why the police have to cut back, while the teachers have to do extra work, while there's councils that's actually gone bust, your council tax is actually gonna. One of the reasons is actually basically we can't pay the bills. But
well, Nigel Farage's gold investments are doing badly.
Oh, gold is going up, and platinum and whatever, the rare metals are going up. But back to the reasons why, the basic reason why. Doesn't matter how you smoke a myriad. We're still in debt by 2.7 trillion, and with what Starmer has pledged, it's going to go up to 3 trillion. In America, why Donald Trump has decided to use Elon Musk to slash. It's because
using the Miele's chainsaw.
Right. The reason why America's got a $36 trillion debt. The reason why he's tariffing everybody and take your industry
is to take people's mind off that fact, because he can't do anything about it.
Well, he's trying to. This is the irony. He's trying to. Yeah, because if you have them producing the stuff in America rather than coming into America, it is better. But all of the basic cuts of government spending, which Elon Musk is in charge of, is because he's got to get that debt down in order to pay.
But Elon Musk himself has got a lot of Tesla companies in Germany and Japan and in Mexico and in Canada and Philippines and that. Well, so Elon Musk hasn't said, well, let's start with my company, because I'm a patriot, you know. He didn't fight for the white South African Defence Force when he did a runner, but he's a patriot, and in his own words. So being such a patriot, it's obvious that the great Elon Musk is going to take the mote out of his own eye first, you know, because he's a Christian. He's going to actually, he's going to pour all his companies back into America to make America great again.
Elon Musk is Donald
Trump's jester.
Exactly, you read my mind. And guess what? He gets special dispensation. Behind the scene, what happened to TikTok?
Donald Trump says he likes it because it's good for young people or something.
Exactly.
Although they did him a funny one when they had that picture during his first term when they had a joke on him about his the people not being there.
Isn't TikTok not meant to be no more in America?
Yes.
What is it like now? It's still in America.
It's probably doing even better.
Because it's got special
dispensation.
All right. The King's Jester.
The King's Jester.
Exactly.
Dispensation, yeah.
Right.
He's great.
And remember Donald Rumsfeld?
Let's make dispensation great again.
And remember Donald Rumsfeld?
Donald Rumsfeld.
Who was Bush's right hand.
Dispensation.
I heard lots of the companies that was to build back Iraq. It was those was his companies.
Yeah. In fact, many of the oil fields in northern Iraq are owned by private American citizens.
Right. Okay.
They're not owned, but they were taken off the Iraqi government, right?
Spoils of war.
But they're not given to the American government. They're given to private citizens
in America.
So they're not taxed. They're not taxed. You know, they belong to private citizens.
Friends of the King.
Friends of the King.
Yeah. Knowns, unknowns, unknowns.
And of course, we all know that the American Revolution wasn't against monarchy.
It was against
oligarchy.
Oh, the French Revolution, off with their heads.
Well, yeah, but it's
the Great Execution.
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? The separation of powers. And all. The fact is that I thought that the American Revolution was against monarchical power, and now they have monarchical power. And yeah.
All right, let me just circle back, and I had another subject, but I'm going to thing another time. So the talk now is that
I'm beginning to feel lots of urine waiting to come out to make the pan as it goes into grate again.
You might have to make a run for it. All right, okay. so quickly, so the focus is not on the economy at the moment. That's why I went around the thing about the debt and what have you.
Yeah.
The focus is care is actually in America at the moment because it's about war.
A war.
It's about ending the wars.
Yes.
It's about bombs and guns, dead people.
Yeah, bombs and guns, dead people, and
Right.
yes.
The focus is not on Gaza, right? It's about a ceasefire there, but they've completely demolished Gaza. The people, I don't know whether the trucks are coming through.
I think if Biden had have stopped the weapons to Israel, made a peace deal, right? Got that forced the Netanyahu to the table, made a peace deal. I think even Donald Trump may not have won, because that would have caused that a lot of people who didn't vote Democrat would have voted, and they would have won the popular vote.
I wish that America and Britain didn't supply Israel with ammunition and just leave the Israeli to fight for their little space in that area.
Well, Palestinians don't look, just in practical terms, they haven't got enough money to buy British and American weapons. They're very expensive. The Israeli government has much more money and so buys more weapons.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
They're not. So they've been given the weapons.
It's like Ukraine. Has Ukraine got the money? What's Donald Trump? Donald Trump saying, pay up.
Pay up.
Right, I'm going to take this, that, and that. Right. Israel has got the money. Right. It's always been given money. Right. It's in debt to the rest of the world.
So on this one thing, he's actually given the game away.
Who's that?
But why hasn't Donald Trump said to Israel, look, we've been giving you lots of money, like he said to Zelensky? Why doesn't he say to Netanyahu, look, we want some of your your
No, because it's not theirs. Remember, Israel was created. That land is not theirs. Right? Remember, and 2/3 of the world does not recognize Israel because we live over here.
Yes, but those 2/3 of the world don't make the UN Security Council. They don't. The UN was Security Council was created against the UN. The UN were all the nations of the world, but the people in power were just a few superpowers.
So what has Israel got to bargain with?
Well, they've got the US backing permanently.
Nothing. I mean, that on the political sense, but minerals and what have you.
No, they're not. Well, maybe if they didn't have American financial support, they might collapse.
And I think it's every year from since.
So they're subsidised. So what? So Elon Musk, as Mr. Trick, he could say, look, we'll save lots of money by not giving Israel money.
Yeah, but then who's going to take on all these refugees from Israel?
Israeli refugees.
If Israel collapse.
Well, they couldn't go to Florida.
They go back to Germany. You think they go back to Germany? I think not now. Actually, let me leave it right there.
Eastern Germany looks very hospitable.
Let me leave it right there, because next week the whole situation will change. All right, we got goodbye from him.
And goodbye from me.